One more.
My name's John Terrell. Thank you very much for being here, gentlemen. Dinesh, without an appeal to popularity, what argument can you make about the non-existence of Zeus that wouldn't also pertain to the non-existence of God?
Your question, in its complexity, inspires in me the hope that we had cut off the questions before you got started. But look, here's the short answer. If you look at the Greek and Roman gods, of whom Zeus was, you might say, god number one, uber god, the Greek and Roman gods were, you might say, human beings writ large. In fact, Xenophanes, in one of his essays, says, "Isn't it interesting that we make gods in our image?" And that criticism applies overwhelmingly to the polytheistic gods of the Egyptians and the Greeks. They would describe gods that were very much, had human qualities, but you might say extended. So the gods, for example, were immortal, but they were jealous like we are. They were lustful like we are. And Zeus was, if you may say, the referee of this pantheon of... So when I look at that, that to me is understandable in human terms. In other words, it would make sense that humans would, if we are weak, say, okay, maybe there's a big God who's really strong, let's call him Schwarzenegger. Or if we are angry, we say, we extend our emotions in different directions. Now remember that the Jewish and Christian God is not like this. He is not made in the human image at all. In fact, it is posited in the Bible, Old Testament and New alike, that no one has seen him. Not even Elijah, not even Moses. They may have seen the burning bush. So you suddenly have a rather unusual thing in the world, a metaphysical concept of God standing outside of space and time. And I ask you this, if human beings 2,000 years ago came up with the idea of something existing outside of time, it would be nonsensical. You couldn't even make head or tail of it. It has taken 2,000 years of modern science to discover that time itself is a property of our universe. Space itself is a property of our universe, and the laws of physics are a property of our universe. These are astounding discoveries of our time that have, in a sense, vindicated what some not that well-educated people wrote 2,000 years ago. That alone should make us sit and think.
And so we're right back to where I began, that it isn't possible for science to tell us whether there's a God or not. If even Moses with the burning bush isn't constitute empirical evidence, then there isn't any. And so it does come down to the leap of faith that you either take or you don't. So I would just suggest, before you take the leap of faith, try on the no God glasses just for 5 minutes to see it's not that bad.
May I ask you a quick question, though? You said science can't tell if there's God. Do you then say that the new atheists, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, who are saying that in the name of science we deny the existence of God, are they actually speaking in the name of science, or are they basically projecting their personal prejudice against God onto science?
I don't think they're saying that. I mean, Dawkins has been very clear that on a scale of 1 to 7, 1, there is no God, and 1, there is a God, 7, there is no God, he's a 6. Because no scientist would say, absolutely, there is no X.
So science doesn't know, but it can compute probabilities?
Yeah, probabilities, right.
Probabilities
Yeah.
based on what scale?
Based on the scale of the kinds of arguments that you present.
Okay. So it's a 6 out of 7 chance, according to Dawkins.
Well, in other words, it gets down to what are the probabilities that X is real or not. And like any proposition, we would assess it with some probabilities, whether it's something simple or not.
I think it's significant that Dawkins and Hitchens and these guys are so belligerent. If they were just atheists, look, if there's a probability, there's a remote probability that unicorns exist in the world. Let's call it a 1 out of 7 chance, right? So I don't believe in unicorns on that basis. But you'll notice, I haven't written any books called The Unicorn Delusion. Unicorns are not great. The end of unicorns. What I'm getting at is, you have an atheist belligerence that is inexplicable on the grounds of, I just don't have the evidence. These people seem to hate God.
They have a strong reaction to the last 7 years of in-your-face evangelism in politics and political life that we're frankly sick and tired of it being shoved down our faces. Believe what you want, but leave me alone. That's all we're asking.
You're talking about the Jehovah's Witnesses at
Well,
their door?
anybody. Look, the whole point of the American experiment is the separation of church and state, that you can believe whatever you want, but if you insist on government granting special favors to the most
Okay.
dominant religion, what are you going to do when Islam is the dominant religion, let's say in 100 years? You still want the government giving special favors to Islam? Really? Wouldn't you rather have the powers separated, which has worked so well, which is why Christianity is so dominant? Because it doesn't rely on government handouts, which is a free enterprise conservative principle. You did it on your own without government handouts. Keep the government out of religion. You don't want handouts like that. You don't want to be a religious welfare.
Michael, oh, look,
Are we off topic now?
if
No,
I
this
can
is
just
just getting
answer your
fun.
last point, and it's this. The idea of separating government and religion is in Christianity. Christ himself says separate the realm of
Yes.
Caesar and God. Here's the problem. What we're really talking about now is not a government theocracy or imposed. It's rather this. Here's the public square. And it seems to me that you agnostics or atheists, you're saying here's the way to be fair. We've got agnostics in our society. We got atheists. We got Christians. We got Jews. We got religious people. Let's take the public square and take all the religious content and the religious opinions and views and kick them out. We'll only let atheist and secular views dominate or monopolize the public square. And I ask you, in a democratic society, how is that fair?
Secular-
Hold on.
not
Isn't
an
it fair
atheist
to give
position.
everybody equal access to the public square?
Yes, a public park should be accessible to everybody of all faiths and no faiths. Of course.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Dr. Michael Shermer, Dsouza, and the God question.